everyone. I'm Stacey Landberg, speech language pathologist.
And I'm Kelli Bavaro, also a speech language pathologist. We both specialize in early intervention and use a parent coaching model in all of our sessions, as well as a routines-based approach. And what we're doing today is watching a clip from an early intervention home visit via telepractice in which both parent coaching and routines-based intervention are being implemented.
Yay, and we are doing a part 2. So you can check out part 1 of this video.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because this is the last one was kind of long, so we decided to separate it. All right, here we go.
Absolutely not. Do you need a ball pit break?
Back to it, hopefully. You wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Just some colors over here. Wiggle, 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 wiggle.
So I just have a quick reflection. I'm just thinking about that transition there from, for those who haven't seen the part 1, Aria is transitioning from the puzzle to the ball pit, and this early interventionist Carrie is just right away able to recognize that she's needing to transition. She's not really interested in this activity anymore. What I'm reflecting on out loud right now is just that the wording that she used, she referred to it as a ball pit break. And I don't know, I feel like maybe we could think about how that might be received by the families that we're working with, because maybe break sort of implies that what we were doing before that, so they were doing the puzzle, that maybe that was work or something that Aria doesn't like. And so then this ball pit break could be seen as something separate from that, whereas it's more of another opportunity to work on development overall, whatever they're targeting. Because as we know, kids learn best when they are comfortable and happy with, familiar people they're comfortable, and in, repetitive activities or things that they do day to day. So I'm wondering if we could rethink the wording for that. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's great that you're thinking through that, because let's think about the parents. So I hear exactly what you're saying. Like, Carrie is spot on. She recognizes, she's reading Aria's cues. Like, I'm ready for a break. I've done this puzzle. And then Carrie acknowledges that, right? And in a way, I feel like she's almost like trying to give the parent permission, right? Like, hey, it's okay. Like, we can transition from this, right? But by using that terminology, right, it does sort of signify like, oh, this was the therapy part, or this was like the practice. And now like, we're just not working on anything because like, this is her break. And it might be a good time to even talk to the parent about like, do you think she needs a break? Or how else could we like support her during this next activity where she's getting regulated, where she's like doing something that she enjoys, that's just fun. And like, when we had Carrie on for Coach to Coach, like she kind of talked about how reflection was a goal for her, right? So I think she would watch us back and be like, yes, now I know how to like engage the parent in that reflective talk and like get more input there. But yeah, I think it's a really good opportunity for us to think about it, because I know I say to parents all the time, like, yeah, they need a break. And I think what I mean is like, not a break from like, this was the therapy and now this is the break time, but more of just like, they need to regulate, or they want to do something different, or this is an age appropriate attention span shift, something like that.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I love that you brought up the attention span, because it could be related to that, that she's done with this activity and now we can go embed strategies into this other one, or it's such a great time for reflection. Is there a sensory piece? And if so, what can we do to help her get regulated beforehand and maintain it throughout? That way sensory is built into an activity and throughout the day, rather than seen as, this separate entity. So yeah, I mean, it's just a great opportunity to work with parents on that. That's what it's all about. Yeah.
Yeah. And I even just had this thought right now, but like, what a cool space to say to parents, like, hey, when she does need a break, right? Like we all do, how would you like to see her communicate that instead of just moving on, right?
Yes.
Like, is there an opportunity here, like where you feel like she could use a sign, or she had that picture board, or we're about to see that. But
yeah, how can she let you know?
yeah. Or what like how, like as Carrie read the room, she was like, she needs a break, right? So how did Carrie read those cues? How did, like, building on Aria's strengths, how did Aria communicate that? Like,
Yes.
not by her physical movements, but like, yeah, cool. Awesome. Should we watch a little bit more?
Yes.
Wiggle, wiggle. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Where's the yellow ball? Yellow? That's not yellow. You know. That's the pink ball. Where's the yellow ball? Yellow. Get the yellow.
So did you guys practice with that language board the past couple weeks?
Yes, we
And
did.
how's that going?
It's going okay. She likes to pull all the things out. So of course, I gave her some options and she's like, I still want to pull out the butt. I'm not doing this all. What are you doing?
Aria.
Oh, look at it. You want to.
What's that? No, then put it back.
Okay, then put it back down here. Here, let's pick another. Oh, you do want to sing it?
You do want to sing Wheels on the
Or do
Bus.
you want to sing a different song? Bus? Tell me Wheels on the Bus.
Okay, now
Was that?
Pick another song. Sit down your butt, please. I'm a little teapot, short and stout. Here is my handle.
Where's the handle?
Here's my thumb. When I get all steamed up, hear me shout. Tip me over and pour me out. Yay! What?
Okay, a couple things. So I love that Carrie just observed there, because when they were talking, she asked about how AAC was going, and I could feel myself, having all these follow-up questions like, when does she access it? And what does that look like? And how are you referring to it? And like, oh, she's engaging with it by pulling it off. Cool. But Carrie just observed, and she gained more information as to how it's going by just not interfering and letting that unfold. It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, I feel like this is so hard as speech therapists because we like see all the opportunities, like, oh,
Yeah.
she can be modeling, she can be doing this. Why do we have a core board? What is it, like, what's on there? What are the icons? Does she know them? Why do we take some away? Like, there's 1,000 questions. And this is why, like, I feel like we need to go deeper on certain topics, because a lot of times when it comes to visual supports and AAC, it's not just coaching. There's so much consulting and teaching about what it is and what it looks like. And I feel like at this age, so much of it is just exposure. It's like that total communication, right? Like, we give them some signs, we practice, we model the words, we give the visual supports, and then we watch what the parents do with it, and then we guide. And like, it is often a slow process, right? And we want to get in there and be like, but I have all this knowledge. And the truth is, the parent knows what's going to work best for their family, right? Yeah. Do you have any other thoughts about that? Because I feel like there's a lot.
So with that sequence that we just watched, I was thinking back to part 1 when we had been talking about kind of checking in and setting the tone in the beginning regarding what we want to target in a session, how we can help most. And so right at the end there, the parents did a few things to engage her. That was one of the most engaged she's been. She was really enjoying that. I couldn't see her cute little face, but it looked like she tipped over to pour out with the teapot. And I find that in those sessions where, especially when like you're first starting out coaching, especially if you've been more direct or consultative before that, sometimes you can feel like, oh, did the session get away? Like we didn't have a target. They didn't have something specific they were working on. But I always feel like asking a little reflective question can kind of reset the tone and just recalibrate it. And I think that because the parents did several things there to engage her really well. And yeah, we could point that out as strengths, but it would be a good time to ask them a reflective question about it, so that they can start, thinking about the strategies. And then sometimes that gets the coaching and, the intervention back to where it needs to be. I don't know, what's something that you might ask them or have them reflect on there?
Well, I think for me, when Carrie asked about the language board, right, which like oftentimes at this age, we're barely just introducing visual supports, and we're not always saying like, where's the AAC or where's the core board or the choice board? We're just using the terminology that like works for that family, right? But it's visual supports, right? So I think when I would ask that, when I would present, I'd be like, how's it going? Which she asked. And then the parents just like, instead of really answering, they just like started. So I might have preemptively done my reflection even at the beginning, like, tell me what I'm going to see here. Like, tell me what we're going to practice. And like, have the parents put it in their words so we could put some intention around it. And then Carrie could do the whole like, oh, cool. Like, I want to see, are you going to give her, I saw like the parent limited the choices. So I don't know if that was something that they had discussed about like having too many choices. Maybe she's just like ripping them all off, or I don't know all that background information, but I'd want to hear the parent kind of plan, right? Instead of like, and it's great to just follow the child's lead. Like this is why it gets so confusing. It's like, well, we have this strategy, and when do we use that one, right? But I hear what you're saying, and I feel like some reflection in there and getting the parents being really intentional about what they're going to do. So let's do a song right now, and we're going to show you how she chooses her favorite one, and she knows which symbol represents that, right?
Yeah.
And like having them plan, and then Carrie could reflect back like the strengths. Like, you're right, I saw that she made a choice. She knew to like what song it was, she handed it to you, whatever was happening. How do you think this is going? What else would you like to see, right? All of that sequence of coaching.
Yeah. And that's one of my favorite coaching questions that you just asked, like, tell me what I'm going to see here. Because it makes them to be more intentional, and they're talking about, what they've been doing so far. Saying it out loud is so powerful, but then they go into it just that much more ready to work on whatever they've been working on. And I think that they're more likely to use it again and see the benefit of it if they talk it through in the beginning, as opposed to sometimes when like we just see, sort of casually a strategy, or they use it, subtly for a second, we notice it, and then we might point it out as a strength, but we don't like milk it enough, and they don't realize how powerful it was. So this enables that to happen, that question or that reflection. Yeah.
Yes. And that's true for all adult learners, right? Like, so we take the coaching strategies, which are the adult learning principles, right? And we use them in their home visits, but it's really true for everyone in our lives. Like if we're teaching, for example, I have a student right now, and I asked her today, I said, I want you to tell me what I'm going to see. Like, what's your plan? And I was like, and it doesn't have to be elaborate. It could be that you're going to take data on this child's goal. She's a new student, right? So, she was so grateful. She was like, thank you for like giving me some clear thing to focus on and not making me feel like I have to do it all, right? So the parents in those moments, often it's like, they're going to watch and like, they're going to see all these things. But if we can be like, okay, I'm just going to look for this. Like we're just looking for this right now. Yeah. It like removes the pressure, gives them the opportunity to feel successful, also builds that like, what's your priority? Now I know as the provider, like, oh, this is what they want me to pay attention to. And how I can
totally.
Yeah.
And then I love how we're just like riffing right now, but taking that beat, then it gives them that moment, like you were saying, so then they can reflect on, okay, what are we about to do? Like, what strategies do I like to do here? What does this typically look like? What do I want to show her? And then that sets us up for more success at the end, because have you ever been in sessions where maybe you don't check in or ask for that reflection ahead of time, and then kind of after the fact, sometimes a family says, oh, well, usually I do this, and actually it oftentimes looks like that, and we see this, or, because maybe we didn't get to see it the way it typically looks, or the parent forgot to use a strategy that they typically do. And then kind of coaching through that is sort of just been another chapter to the session. Like, okay, well, we could try it again, or let's just, talk about it more. Whereas just taking the beat in the beginning, eliminates that.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like I've been watching a lot of new videos lately that people have been submitting, and I'm like, wow, it's really hard to ask those questions, I think, in the beginning or before an activity or before a routine. Like, what am I going to see here? But I think it's because we're such kind souls. Like, we want to support families. And like, sometimes we think we're going to put families on the spot too much. And I can feel put on the spot. I've had people ask me in like live sessions where they're like, what are you going to do today? And I'm like, I don't know. I was just going to wing it. Right. And some parents like to learn that way, like that, like in my adult learning checklist, I'll be like, how do you like to learn? And like trial and error is true for some parents. They're like, I don't know what I'm going to target. Let's just see how it goes. Right.
Yeah.
That's okay. They have the opportunity to share that. And I'll be like,
right.
Okay, then let's talk about what we saw or how it felt after. Yeah. Cool. Let's watch a little bit more. All right.
Don't say no, sit down.
Sit down.
It's not safe to stand up.
Thank you.
Okay, that was a really short clip, but it's actually a good opportunity, I think, to like kind of recap, but also I wanted to highlight a couple of things. I hope it's cool if I jump in here. I'm thinking about some of Carrie's other strengths. So there's a few things parents do, and Carrie's just quiet. And I feel like she is just like trying to figure out what the parent's priority is here, right? So Aria has like some global things to work on motorically. And part of me is like, wow, she's staying balanced, standing up there in the ball pit, right? And like maybe working on figuring that out. Carrie doesn't come in and say like, let her stand, let's see what happens. She listens and she's like, okay, it's a parent priority that she follows the direction, right? For those parents. And something happened earlier where she first got in the ball pit and mom's like, get the yellow one, that's the pink one. And Carrie doesn't say anything, right? And I think she, is listening for those parent priorities, because we all know that we don't really care about letters, numbers, colors, shapes this early. But it is ingrained in parents to think that those are important, because all baby toys are about the numbers, the shapes, the colors, the matching, right? So they're just inundated with that. And it doesn't always make sense to come in and tell parents like, you're wrong, like the colors don't matter yet. We can gradually build our trust and share that information. But I like that Carrie just didn't come in and constantly correct parents. She's getting comfortable with learning what their priorities are.
Yeah, there's a way to navigate all of that, right? Because I mean, maybe they've even talked about it before, but I know oftentimes it takes parents a while to come around to omitting, those colors, numbers, shapes. And so it might mean coming back to it in a couple weeks or at the end of the session.
Right. Or recognizing like that's a strength of my child and I want to show it off to you and like celebrate it. Right. Yeah, definitely. I feel like that there was some of that happening where the parents kind of wanted to like show Carrie, like, look, she can do this, or, and that's cool. Right. They want to share their excitement for the skills she does have. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a good note to just, I feel like so much of what we do is, adult learning and just reading parents. Everyone's psyche is so different. And as early interventionists, it's our job to just individualize and navigate that with each family. And so some families, especially, I'm not speaking to this family in particular. I'm just saying, some families that we work with, they are often hearing about things their child can't do, things their child needs support on.
Yes. Yeah, that deficit approach
in that space, right? Yes, this deficit-based medical model. So maybe this family, needs to talk about all these things that they're doing and show off more and praise, and we can provide the space for them to do that.
Yeah, totally. It's making me think. I was just grabbing this book. I don't know if anyone else has seen it yet. Have you seen this, Kelly? It's by
Oh,
Dr. Dana Childress. I hope I'm saying her last name right, but it's called Pause and Reflect. And I was thinking
I
about the
love the title.
Oh, it's such a good book. So yeah, so this book is great. And it's especially good for anyone who's on their own, like me. Like I don't have a team in California that I work with. It's sort of like, here's your case and like, good luck contacting the OT or whoever else is involved. Right.
Yeah.
So anyways, I love this quote. She says, remain curious. To do this, you must not only be mindful about how you ask questions and how you respond to the caregiver, you must also monitor your own thoughts and behaviors. When you feel judgment creep in, acknowledge it and let it go. And that's been like huge for me because I watch so many home visits of different providers and like I see the judgment creep in where I'm like, they could have done this. But if I'm remaining curious, I have to remember like I'm seeing one visit. I have no idea the history, what other conversations have been happening and things that have been occurring. So now I just see it like all these strengths, right? They're just like, once you get into that strength space, like it's just like an avalanche where it's like, okay, Carrie's probably doing this because of that. And that's why she didn't ask this here. Or
Yes.
yeah, right. And like the parents are doing this because like they want to show off how she knows yellow, right?
Mm-hmm. I totally relate to what you're saying because yeah, when I'm supervising, I have those moments where I think, like you said, like maybe what could have been done differently or what's worth a try. And there's this fine line between, sharing ideas and just empowering them to get to those ideas. But also just like when we're working with families, we don't know what they've tried, how other sessions have gone, what ideas they already have in their own head that they have the right to share. And so I think it's important for us to just recognize that we can like be that vessel to help them just share it sometimes by asking the right questions and then see where that goes. Yeah.
100%. And also like knowing we don't have that information, but it is our job to get it, right? So we get it by asking those questions, engaging in that dialogue, observing, right? Practicing in different contexts. Like that is our job really, is to like remain curious, to find out more, and then to like use our expertise, right? To come in and be like, hey, I saw you try this here. You think that would work there? Or you want to try something different? What other ideas do you have? It's like, it's so much a partnership, right? I love it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious. So do you have any like thoughts of maybe a different coaching strategy that like Carrie might pull in, or a reflection question she might ask the parents? And I'm going to try to think of a reflection question I would ask Carrie. So here's what I would ask Carrie, I think I would ask her, based on the clip that we show, which is so little in comparison to like all this time she's had with the family, but based on what we watched today, what would she have, where could she have put in a reflection question to build her knowledge base about the family's priorities? Where would she have put that question, and what might she have asked the family? And she's pretty good at doing these pauses. So I feel like she has that strength to build from, to like pose the question and just let the parents sit and think about it, right? While she waits for them to like use some of that critical thinking to share with them, to share with her. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I think as far as pulling in some other strategies, it might be fun to go off of the success they had with the song that they were practicing, the little teapot song, because she seemed to really like it and mom was using her gestures and it looked like Aria was paying attention that time. And then she did a little imitation and she, bent over for the pour me out part. So that's something that I think they could keep doing if she was still attentive in it. And there might be some ways to just expand on it, like working on, just different EI strategies like pausing and incorporating more gestures, but something to keep that going so that we're expanding her role in the song. And we see that she gets a little bit vocal after that, the most vocal we saw during the session. And so, I'm not sure how often she vocalizes or what those sound like, but reflecting on ways to maybe incorporate that into the routine or encourage those vocalizations or gestures or just motor imitation into that routine.
Yeah. I feel like you're hitting on the idea that like Carrie could give parents some like real specific feedback about Arya's strength there. Like maybe saying, I love how she knows the songs and the gestures and she's more vocal. Should we be pulling that into another part of the day or making a song out of another activity or just like building from that strength? And then like that
Yeah.
that type of feedback could segue into like problem solving with the parents. Like how else, when else? Yeah, who else will we try this with, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
All right, awesome. That was a fun clip to watch. Thank you, Kelly.
it was. Thank you, Stacey. And everybody, remember to like this video if you like it, or subscribe. We'd love to hear your feedback too. So if you want to share with us your takeaways or how things are going with you in your sessions, please type away.